Today, we're going to be talking about biblical hospitality and what that means to our family and how that impacts guests. Stay tuned.
Don't want to miss it. You're listening to Marriage Mania, where we are audacious, sagacious, and tenacious for the Lord to uphold godly marriages and to raise fervent children who are countercultural and stand for biblical truth.
Welcome back. We're so excited to have you. I am Tanya.
I'm Michael.
Today, we're going to be talking about biblical hospitality and what it means to us and how we can impact our guests and just trying to really reflect Christ in all that we do when people come to our home. And Michael, it's just been so exciting to talk about hospitality. I think I've been talking about, but before we get started, please subscribe here, and it just helps us to get the message out. We want to reach as many people as possible. So I want to talk about biblical hospitality, Michael. It's been something I've been mentioning over and over, probably the last couple of weeks, and I was so inspired by it because I ended up writing a ebook on some steps, 8 great steps on how to even get started with biblical hospitality. And I think it's something that really allows us to share what we have with our guests. And it doesn't have to be anything spectacular. It doesn't have to be perfect. And I think when we decide that we're going to invite someone over, we tend to cram, right? We're like, oh my gosh, we got to get the house straight. We got to clean the sofas and get everything straight, make sure no clothes and laundry is everywhere. And, I think we tend to say our last name, we kind of colorize things. We go to the above and beyond to try to make things better because we want to make our guests feel special. We want to allow them to see this is our home. And sometimes it's not perfect. And sometimes we do have the time to be able to clean up. But today, I just want to talk about the importance of when people come over to our home and the importance of actually sharing what we have. We just did an amazing podcast with Dr. Ryan Russ from Kingsland Baptist Church in Katy, Texas. And he has a book called Restore the Table. And it was so encouraging. And it also ties in with hospitality, having the table, setting the table, and then also inviting guests over. And so we have been doing this, Michael, since we started the basketball for our daughter earlier this year, where we had some really good friends come over. And it started like, okay, we're going to come over because our daughter's school is close by. And so they're like, we're only about 15 minutes away. And so we'll just stop by and kind of pass the time. And what did we end up doing? We started a meal time every Thursday with our friends. And it's just been such a blessing to my own heart to be able to provide a meal. Now, Michael, what were your thoughts when we started this process of like, okay, we're gonna have our friends over on Thursday. It felt a little crammed, right? Because we've got basketball, we got to be there at 6:00, and oh my gosh, we're gonna have a sit down dinner with everybody.
Well, I think what really helps is, like you alluded to earlier, that connection between having meals together as a family. So if you're already doing that, then it's only an extra step to then invite someone over. And of course, there's a little bit more to it than that for everybody.
Yes.
You got to straighten up a little bit and you do things a little bit more fancy. But, as we were doing this every week, you get more lax with the fancy and you kind of realize, it's okay for them to come over with a less than perfectly situated house and not everything be perfect. I mean, they're just good friends and they can see us in all our glory with things everywhere. I mean, we can't help but at least straighten up a little, but it doesn't have to be perfect, just have them over. And so, it gets to be more and more like not as much of an inconvenience to get everything ready for somebody to come, because if it's too much of an ordeal, that's when it becomes hard. If we got to take a day off of work in order to straighten up the house and we're having people over and our kids aren't used to eating meals together, so they don't know how to act at the table, then that could just cause a lot of chaos and like, I ain't
Yeah.
doing that again.
And
But
stress too.
right. So, if we practice that hospitality
Mm-hmm.
with ourselves first, and we train our children how to sit still,
Mm-hmm.
how to have manners, how to ask for something with please
Mm-hmm.
and say thank you, and how to set the table, and how to help gather the dishes afterwards and wash them, then all of that works really well as a system to then have somebody over, and makes
Mm-hmm.
things a whole lot easier and a lot smoother, and less of an ordeal to have to like really straighten up the house and really grind into our kids about, you better behave and don't jump on the table or throw food at your brother or sister like you normally do,
Right.
kind of thing.
Right. And you know me. I love to cook, and I tend to go all out with the meals. I want to make sure that I'm preparing a meal that they're going to enjoy, that our friends are going to enjoy, that we're all going to enjoy, that we are just, talking over the meal and just talking about the day, talking about the week, like what happened last week. It's been a week since we've seen you, what was going on. The kids are getting together, the kids are laughing and they're eating. It's just, to me, it's such an amazing time. And since we started that in January, we've always had people over, but very consistent since January of this year, just having our friends over every Thursday. And then we started inviting different people from our church just to come and get to know them, because we didn't know a lot of the people at our church. So they would come and we would have a meal together and we would talk about whatever is of interest, and bring up the Lord. And it's just the hospitality of just being inviting and just opening your home, because our home doesn't belong to us. It's really it's really the Lord providing that home so that we can share it with others. And having that hospitality is really from the heart, wanting and desiring to be able to bless another family, if you know them or if you don't know them. It's the intention of making that person feel special, making the family feel like they are the ones that we're focused on. There's no technology, there's no um talking about other things. Is just focusing on the family and just being hospitable, making them feel comfortable at home. I mean, that's one thing, Michael, that you always make that comment that you love it when people come to our home and can just open the cabinet and grab, a cup, or open the refrigerator and say, I need to just get this or that, or grab whatever. And I think that just makes you feel so comfortable that they feel at home.
Yeah, I mean, and that's a key aspect of hospitality. Those that just have that gift can do it really well. I don't necessarily have that gift. I always have to kind of work at it and to make sure that I'm intentionally showing that friendliness and that
Mhm.
hospitality to let people feel welcomed in your home. And a sign of that they feel welcome, is that they just help themselves. They
Mhm.
just, I need a drink of water, they go get water. They
Yeah.
they need something, you can go in the refrigerator and get it, or they just go to the bathroom without asking, hey, can I use the bathroom? And it's just, they're just making themselves at home without even having to tell them to make themselves at home. You can see that they are relaxed.
Mhm.
And part of being relaxed is it's a two-way street. And so the person that is hosting it does
Mhm.
so in a way that helps the person feel relaxed and feel at home. And I just love
Mhm.
seeing the signs of that. It shows that we're doing our job right. And it's not a job. We're showing that we're showing our love and the love of Christ
Yeah.
through us, by the fact that the other person just they feel like family around
I
us.
mean, this is biblical, right? To be able to have hospitality, it talks about it in Romans 12, where we are to show hospitality to our brothers and sisters in Christ. And even those who are not of the faith, like we are to open our homes for them and share a meal so that they can begin to ask those questions like, man, that family's so nice. Like they did all these things for me and I can't even believe it. It begs that question of like, why are you doing this for me? And I love that, you and I are a team with this, but we also are showing discipleship through this for our children, right? Our children are seeing that it is normal for us to be at the table with others. It is normal for us to share the food that we have, the best meat that we may have that we've been waiting for that special guest to cook, or that the best dessert that we're going to cook that once a month time that we can share it with our friends or whoever's coming over. And that discipleship opportunity shows our children that, this isn't ours, that God gave us this opportunity, this time to share with those families or that specific guest. And I love it because you can get everyone involved. I know we get our daughter to set the table, like you guys all set the table while I'm over here cooking a big meal. And
raw cleaning and straightening up.
Yeah, trying to make sure that the meal is ready because I want the table to be set, and just making sure that people are enjoying it. And it impacts the family's children because they begin to see, like, wow, this is normal. Like, we eat together with other people.
Yeah, it's training and discipleship for everyone involved, and you're
Mm-hmm.
modeling that hospitality
Mm-hmm.
for your children, on because otherwise how do they know how to do that, unless
Right.
you have meals together and you
Mm-hmm.
have other people over at those meals to model that for them. This is how you do it. This is how you make somebody feel welcome. This
Mm-hmm.
is how you use manners at the table, and this is how you talk, and you're not running around at the table and jumping on the table and throwing food,
Mm-hmm.
and this is, otherwise that makes other people feel uncomfortable. This is, it models for them how to do this, and when they are older, then they that you pass that on, and it's just a great way to connect with other people while at the same time showing the love of Christ to others, and ultimately sharing the gospel, because Jesus commanded
Mm-hmm.
us to share the gospel, and a big part of that was meals, and why
Mm-hmm.
Jesus commanded us to seek out the Gentiles and the unbelievers, other
Mm-hmm.
cultures, people that we're not normally interacting with, reach out to them and be comfortable and make them feel comfortable in your home in a different culture, and show them their love, and eat whatever is set before you if
Mm-hmm.
you're at their house, and just make everybody
Mm-hmm.
feel welcome, and look for those opportunities once you've connected to also share the gospel with them, and they'll be more apt to listen because they already see that you care
Yeah.
for them.
Yeah. And I love how you mentioned love, because I received a beautiful message from our friends, and I won't say their name because they'll probably like, no, don't say. But I do have to say it was the most amazing and loving message that I have received. And she was talking about how they were focused on loving others, and how the Lord says that we are to love one another. Um, as disciples, we're to love one another, and we're to share love with those around us. And she basically said that she was talking to her husband, and they both said, Michael and Tanya, they show us love, deep love, because they're sharing their food with us, and they're inviting us, and they're just taking that initiative to want to be with us, and to show Jesus to us, even when they don't even know that they're doing it. They're showing Christ to us, and we feel so loved by having that meal together, and having our children just see that love through Michael and Tanya. And I just felt so overwhelmed by it. I actually listened to that message again before doing this podcast, because I was like, wow, that was just so precious. I don't think I've ever received a comment like that. And never looking for anything to um, feel like I am putting myself above anything, but it's very encouraging to hear that someone that is receiving our love and what we believe that the Lord has opened that door for us to share our food with them has reflected a love that that Christ is being exalted here, and he's the center of this entire picture of hospitality and love and breaking bread together. And it was just so profound.
Yes, and again, that's it. It's the accolades that we're not doing it for, but it's definitely great to hear that that feedback, that that's what we're trying to do. We want somebody to feel so welcome, and just to feel and hear that feedback from them, that they feel it, that this is not just something, we're not going through the motions,
Right.
they're not going through the motions, and it's like, oh wow, there's genuine care for me as an individual and us as a family, that they would sacrifice and give of their time, give of their effort to make a meal, and give of themselves to make us just feel so welcomed and so loved. And you could see their intentionality of just going out of their way to make us feel loved and welcomed, and all that together is what we're going for. When you ever have guests over, I mean, that's what you want someone to feel, and to get that feedback, which is usually uncomfortable for people to do. So they got to go out of their way to give that feedback to you. And when they do, it's just great to hear that affirmation that, yes, that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to show the love of Jesus. And we so appreciate that the person feels it enough that they've got to take the effort to come out and say, yes, we so appreciate the time and the effort that you're putting in to make us feel so special.
It's so beautiful, so beautiful. So I have to go back and just quote Dr. Ryan Russ, and it may not be perfect, but he had talked about us having too much lamb, and for us to have too much lamb, too much meat, too much chicken, too much food, whatever it may be, we are to share. And he was also looking at Exodus chapter 12, where people shared the lamb with households, or individual households that didn't have many people to share food with would go out to their neighbors. And so I love it. And that's just really stuck with me as we are continuing on with biblical hospitality. And it's just a heart, and it's a gift. And we don't have to be perfect. We don't have to make a 3-course meal. We don't have to have the whole house absolutely perfect, but it's about sharing our hearts and allowing people to come to our home and feel like they are welcomed, and that they can eat in peace and feel loved, and they can have conversations. They can talk about whatever it is, and exalt the Lord in that. So I am just so grateful for this. And for those that are interested in biblical hospitality, I'll put in the notes where you can get your copy of the ebook that you can download for just looking at the steps of biblical hospitality and how you can start that in your home today. It's also just a privilege and an honor to be able to do that. So please share this podcast with anyone that's interested in hospitality, anyone that's interested in just learning how to have meals together, and just sharing what the Lord has provided. We do have a podcast that comes out every Tuesday that talks about marriage and family, where we talk about topics like we are talking about today, biblical hospitality. So we are so excited that we had the opportunity just to share what was on our heart around this topic. And we hope that it encourages you. We hope that it will help you spur on this movement of just inviting people over and sharing what you have, just being hospitable, because the Lord asks us to be hospitable. You never know, you might be entertaining an angel. So we are so thankful for you being here. Until next time.
God